The faction of the past and the faction of the future have brought us powerful new abilities to the game of Dauntless. From the faction of the past, we have the Perfect Strike ability, and from the faction of the future, we have the Path of the Radiant Drone. Both of these abilities are capable of dealing large amounts of damage, and both can be considered valuable additions to the Slayer's arsenal. However, there's an unfortunate side effect of having both of these abilities in the game available to you, and that's that you can only have one of them active at a time. So the question is, which one is actually better? Can we even say that one is definitively or mathematically better? Well, those are the questions we'll be tackling today. Hello everyone, my name is Trevor, I go by TheMrTrails, welcome to the channel. Real quick before we get into the juicy math analysis, if you enjoy Dauntless and are not subscribed already, consider subscribing to the channel. I post Dauntless content here every week. And do me a favor, even if you think you are subscribed and you've watched a lot of my content previously, just double check to see that you actually are subscribed. And if you want to catch me in action live, head over to the Twitch, twitch.tv/TheMrTrails, where we're usually helping out a ton of people in Dauntless trials to get their sub 5s and doing giveaways each week, Thursday through Saturday. So the question is whether or not the Perfect Strike, Aether Slam style explosion, or the Radiant Drone's area of effect hit every few hits is a better option. Let's take a look at what the attacks are at their cores. Perfect Strike has the special attack type, meaning that the damage of it scales up with any of the damaging perks in your build. The base damage of each explosion of Perfect Strike is 250, which is slightly below the base damage of the hammer's Aether Slam, being 262.5. However, the Radiant Drone's damage is a bit different. Upon each activation of the Radiant Drone, it will deal 400 base damage. However, it is dealt using the item type damage. Item type damage, like grenades and lanterns for example, will not deal more damage based on your build and are only affected by power. But both of these do get better from here. When you have each of these skill trees maxed out, you're also increasing the damage potential of each of these abilities. For the Radiant Drone, the drone power upgrades increase the base damage of the blasts, meaning with a maxed out skill tree you'll have 800 base item type damage every 6 hits. And not only this, but you will also get Molten and Cascade drops from the drone activations as well. Molten boosts your attack speed and your movement speed by 10%, and each additional orb you pick up from it will extend the duration of this boost. And for the Cascade drops, they will be the unupgraded versions of them, meaning you won't get shields from the healing orbs or the extra duration on the stamina orbs, but you'll still get Cascade damage boosts for even more item type damage to be dealt to the behemoths, as well as the potential for a Radiant Shield, allowing you to deal some damage to the behemoth without having to worry about dodging for a while. And for Perfect Strike, when you've maxed out the skill tree, you'll get 6 explosions out of each activation, making for an accumulated base damage value of 1500 special attack type damage per activation. So if we just take a look at the per activation damage values of the two, Perfect Strike would win pretty easily, since not only does it have a higher amount of base damage being dealt, but that damage is also increased by the rest of the build, where it doesn't increase for the drone. And even more so, the attacks from Perfect Strike are capable of critical hits and are affected by the crit damage multiplier, whereas attacks from the drone are not capable of critical hits. Even with all of this damage advantage though, there's still a key feature of the Perfect Strike ability that allows the Radiant Drone to keep up with it. And it's the fact that Perfect Strike requires you to dodge through a behemoth's attack in order to accumulate the stacks required to activate it. Either that, or break a primal suppression pillar, which, since there is only one pillar per primal behemoth now, this method of gaining perfection stacks is a lot less useful. With a maxed skill tree and starting with no perfection stacks, you have to be able to dodge 2 attacks in order to activate a perfect strike. So here's where the main piece of questioning arises. At what point does perfect strike become better than the drone, and at what point is the drone better than perfect strike? Well, the main factors that will go into this are your skill level, the amount of people you are playing with, as well as the weapon you are playing. Players of a higher skill level will tend to kill things rather quickly, and oftentimes this will mean that the behemoths don't really get a chance to move or perform an attack that would require the player to dodge. In those sort of situations, the Radiant Drone is going to perform better because it's going to actually deal damage as well as giving you those nice cascade and molten drops. If the behemoth doesn't make you dodge for the entire fight, then perfect strike will most probably not activate, unless by some chance you're fighting a primal behemoth and running Pangar Lantern and the behemoth happened to be close enough to the pillar for you to destroy it. And a similar thing goes for squad play. If you're with a group of players, as long as all of them have some good damage increases on their build, you're a lot more likely to kill them faster, as behemoths are only scaled up in HP about 45% per additional player. This will make it so the average amount of damage needed to be inflicted by each player is lower, meaning that the behemoths will usually die quite a bit faster because their parts will break quicker, they'll stagger faster, etc. With that being said though, there are still some situations where even the most skilled of players should consider having their perfect strike active rather than the Radiant Drone. If you're rather underleveled for the area that you're fighting in, say 7 or more levels lower, then the behemoths are a lot more likely to have a chance to perform an attack and deal damage to you, which would make perfect strike a bit more appealing. When it comes to solos though, it's also likely going to depend on the weapon you're playing. For slower weapons, such as axe, hammer, and sword, when not using Ardent Cyclone as your special, you'll only get about 1 charge of the drone per 2 combos, and because of the slower attack speed, if you're not running Catalyst and Stagger Tonic to get a stagger immediately, the behemoths are going to be rather likely to do an attack right away, in which case perfect strike would be the better option. However, on the faster hitting weapons like Warpike, Strikers, Chain Blades, and Sword Ardent Cyclone perhaps, you're going to be getting a lot of hits in short periods of time, which will lead to a significant amount of damage from your drone. And the more attack speed that's on the build, the more often that the drone will activate, allowing you to deal even more damage. But for repeaters though, I would be more likely to take perfect strike because of having the extra interrupt method, and because repeaters have no way of staggering other than the Pangar Prism, you're more likely to have to dodge as well. That's what I would likely do for solos. Perfect strike on repeaters, hammer, axe, and sword if I was using Avenging or Valiant Overdrive, and the Radiant Drone if I was using Warpike, Strikers, Chain Blades, or sword with Ardent Cyclone. However, if I was playing in a group, I would likely stick to the Radiant Drone, and if I had to pick a winner of the 2 abilities, I would probably have to say that the Radiant Drone is more likely to be more useful on average. It will do damage even when you've stun locked a behemoth, and you also get a good amount of bonus utility out of it in the form of attack speed from the molten drops, as well as healing, stamina bonuses, and even some brief invincibility from the cascade drops. But what is fairly certain is that Phoenix Labs did make this a pretty difficult choice to make, and I think the 2 abilities are very well balanced with one another. I would like to thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed the breakdown and the analysis, consider leaving a like on the video. And if you enjoyed Dauntless and are not subscribed already, consider subscribing to the channel. I post Dauntless content here every week. To stay up to date with my content both here on YouTube and on Twitch, as well as to keep up with any potential giveaways I'll be doing, join the Discord server in the description. I manually make a post whenever I do anything content or giveaway related. I have been Trevor, I go by TheMrTrails, and I will catch you guys next time.